You got a job at a fashion magazine?
Mm-hmm.
Or what was it, a phone interview?
Wow.
You used to say this was just a job. You used to make fun of the Runway girls. What happened? Now you've become one of them.
Has she actually changed as a person? I'm Team Nate nowadays.
FlynnsArcade.
Hi, this is FlynnsArcade, and this is In Defense of Nate from The Devil Wears Prada. I watch The Devil Wears Prada about once a year, and I have done for a really long time. And every time I watch it, I have a different opinion of the characters in it and what motivates them. Over the years, I've read a lot of articles and various forum posts online about Nate, Andy's boyfriend, and he definitely got a very poor reputation amongst the fan base. However, on my recent rewatch of the film, I've started to sort of see that he has a point a lot of the time, and I'm going to argue his case throughout this video.
Good luck.
In the opening montage of the film, we see lots of women getting ready for work. All the women, with the exception of Andy, are wearing really fancy, fashionable clothes. Even their underwear is like really expensive and high-end. In contrast, Andy's eating an onion bagel and she's pouring through her old articles that she's taken with her to a job interview. You can see she's very different to the people who work at Runway, or the clackers, as she starts to call them later in the film. She goes to her interview at Runway and it's a complete disaster. However, miraculously, she gets the job and she goes out to celebrate with Nate and their two friends, Lily and Doug. Nate's line here is very controversial amongst the fandom.
You got a job at a fashion magazine?
Mm-hmm.
Or what was it, a phone interview?
Wow.
I mean, that's really harsh. However, as we know, Andy has no interest in fashion, and in fact later on we'll see in the film that she's actually quite disdainful towards the fashion world. So whilst it seems quite rude, well, incredibly rude, it is kind of true really, and it shows that he does know her and her values, even if he is quite nasty in the way he goes about explaining it. When we see the way Nate and Andy and Doug and Lily interact with each other, we realise that they are quite snidey to each other.
Well, look, you gotta start somewhere, right? I mean, look at this dump Nate works in.
Yeah, Lily's comment there is really harsh, and I get the impression that the friends, they kind of make fun of each other, and it's something that you do. I mean, it's nasty, but it is banter, and it's not trying to hurt each other's feelings. It's just that's how they talk to each other.
Paper napkins? Hello?
Yeah, and Lily, she works at that gallery doing, Oh, I'm sorry. What exactly is it that you do, anyway?
Yeah, that's really rude. And look what they say about Doug's job.
I already have my dream job.
You're your corporate research analyst.
Oh, you're right, my job sucks.
I mean, they don't hold back when they talk to each other. I mean, they really do go for it, but in a way it's quite realistic. I get the impression that all these characters are not long out of university. And when you think about it, most people's first job kind of sucks. And so they're just complaining about a problem that a lot of people go through, and they're making light of it because it's funnier that way, really. And I think it is some of that famous New York wit. However, on the walk home, Nate's attitude changes somewhat, and look what he says here.
You should see the way these girls are runway dress. I don't have a thing to wear to work.
Come on, you're gonna be answering phones and getting coffee. You need a ball gown for that?
That's really supportive, and what he says next is absolutely brilliant.
I happen to think you look great always.
Aww, I think you're full of it.
I mean, there's a bit of a sarcastic tone there, but I happen to think that Nate completely means that. I think he really believes that about Andy, that she always looks great to him, and that's really good. He really loves her for exactly who she is, and all power to him in this scene. Andy has a very chaotic first day at work, and she's also subjected to Miranda's famous cerulean speech. She goes home and she complains to Nate.
She is not happy unless everyone around her is panicked, nauseous, or suicidal. And the clackers just worship her.
The who?
So he's been really supportive there. She's upset, she's had a difficult first day, and he's totally there for her. And what he does now is really cool.
They all act like they're curing cancer or something.
However, if we listen to what Andy's just said, she is very negative about her new job, and she's training Nate up to think her job's awful. He's never met the people at Runway and he's never been to the office. He knows nothing about fashion, and as far as he's concerned, Andy doesn't either. So it's going to be very difficult for him later in the film when she decides that she likes the job.
I'm not even hungry anymore.
What?
That is why those girls are so skinny.
Oh, no. Give me that. There's like $8 of Jarlsberg in there.
You see, that's one of the things that I don't like about Nate. He always talks about how much food costs. I mean, I get the impression he doesn't make much money himself and he takes a lot of pride in his cooking, but that's kind of annoying, and I think that doesn't really work in his favour, but it's a low-level criticism at the end of the day. Andy goes back to her office and Emily's friend Serena is really impressed with her outfit. Emily doesn't say she's impressed with it, but I think she actually is. So it goes incredibly well, and I absolutely love that outfit, by the way. She looks really cool. After the makeover, we see a montage of Andy going into work wearing various different fashionable outfits. Her fortune has changed quite a lot at Runway now she's started to look the part. She goes out to meet Nate and Doug and Lily, and this is perhaps one of the reasons why a lot of people hate Nate.
On potatoes alone. Take the fry and squeeze it. You see how firm that is?
Oh, I'm so sorry I'm late.
I have mixed feelings about that scene now. It is quite annoying that he keeps going on about French fries, but he is a chef and that comment indicates how much value he puts on his own job. He absolutely loves it, he cares about it. It's something he feels really motivated to do, even the less glamorous parts of it. And that is a big thing about Nate. He can really see whether people are following their passions or not, because he's totally following his. However, the dinner at the restaurant goes quite badly, and we'll look at that now.
I have exciting presents for all of you. Are you ready?
So Andy's there giving a friend some really nice and expensive gifts.
What is it, Bang & Olufsen phone? Charlie Rose sent it to Miranda for her birthday. I looked it up online. It's $1,100.
What? So her friends take her presents and they're very happy to take them. I'm very irritated by this scene because it kind of makes me think that they're quite hypocritical in a lot of ways, because they're very down on Andy and they're very down on her job, but they'll still take these free fashionable gifts and they absolutely love them. So, but then that's the ambiguity of the film. Like, we all wear clothes and we all have to engage with the fashion industry. The film is called The Devil Wears Prada, and it's all about how people can be seduced by luxury items, and these fine trinkets are enough to win this crew over. But what they do next really, really annoys me. She gives Lily a really expensive Marc Jacobs bag and some Clinique, and she absolutely loves it. But what the gang do next will always annoy me.
A piece by Joan Didion. Even an interview with Christian Amanpour.
Looks like someone's been drinking the Kool-Aid.
Nate's comment there, somebody's been drinking the Kool-Aid, it's kind of nasty, but he's also right, because Andy, as far as he's concerned, Andy really doesn't like working at Runway. She came home from work on her first day and said how much she disliked the clackers and she thought it was a kind of stupid job. So now she's telling him how Runway isn't that bad, and he's like, you know, someone's been drinking the Kool-Aid, because she's really changed her tune, and he's worried that she's starting to lose her personality to the people at Runway. Nice bit of foreshadowing there too. And the gang are complete dicks in this next scene. That's really shitty, especially since she's brought them all some very nice and expensive presents, and it's also pretty childish as well, and not the good kind of childish. It's like the really mean, nasty kind of childish. So I really hate them in this scene. It's just such a horrible trick that they pull. And look what Andy says.
Didn't have to be such assholes.
Yep, she's right. The complete arseholes in this scene. And when we see what she does in the next scene, we can understand why she kind of gets seduced by it. Andy then goes on an errand to James Holt's party. Everyone there is really nice and polite, and it's a really sophisticated setup, and it's in stark contrast to her old friends in the bar. And she also meets the writer, Christian Thompson.
You write for like every magazine I love. I reviewed your collection of essays for my college newspaper.
So Auntie's quite starstruck there, and it's unsurprising. She's just come away from a really horrible scene with her friends in the restaurant, and she's gone into this glamorous new world where everyone's nice, and she's met somebody that she's an actual fan of. It's really exciting, and it's unsurprising that her head gets turned at this point. However, things have started to go bad at work, and Andy tells Nate that she plans to quit her job. It looks like she might even get fired at this point, and this makes Nate quite happy. However, when he gets home from work one day, he sees this.
Hey, I went to Dean and DeLuca. Man, they charge like $5 a strawberry there. But I figure...
You see, he's doing it again, talking about how much food costs. It's really quite annoying.
Listen, Nate.
Wait a minute, you quit your job, but you're still working on a twin science project?
It's one thing working for the magazine, but some of the activities that Andy finds herself doing do really suck. She constantly has to do some awful stuff for Miranda. She has to just be a gopher a lot of the time. But at least it's when she's in office hours. The fact she's doing Miranda's kids' homework for them, that's not really something an aspiring journalist should be doing.
It doesn't make sense throwing away all those months of hard work.
Yeah, she's got a fair point, but as with everything in this film, at what cost? Here Nate delivers this really important line.
Yeah, well, either that or your job sucks and your boss is a wacko.
Yeah, thanks Nate for saying something that we're all thinking. A job does suck and a boss is a wacko. He's got a complete point here. But he is starting to worry that Andy has changed quite a bit.
I'm still the same person I was. I still want the same thing. Same Andy. Better clothes.
Yeah, same Andy but with better clothes. But listen to what Nate says here.
I like the old clothes.
I don't really like that on the part of Nate, because does it really matter what she's wearing ultimately? I mean, he said at the start of the film that he thought she looked good in everything. So the fact that he's starting to say you look good in your old clothes, and that makes me think that he is starting to hold her back a little bit here, and I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of fans of the film really don't like him. Nate and Andy are not having that great a time at this point, and she turns to Marcus, the nicest person at Runway, for advice.
That's what happens when you start doing well at work, darling. Let me know when your whole life goes up in smoke. When it's time for a promotion.
That's a really depressing idea, but I hope it's not true. But in the world of Runway, it is true, because it seems that all the people who are successful there all have loads of personal problems, including and especially Miranda. Back at the office, everyone is excitedly preparing for the Runway Age of Fashion event. It's a red carpet event and it's pretty exciting. Emily was supposed to go on her own, but unfortunately she's become unwell. She's been on quite a strict diet because she's been trying to get into fashionable clothes when she goes to Paris, and this means she's developed a cold. Miranda says that Andy has to go to the event too. This would be pretty good fun. However, the event clashes with Nate's birthday, so Andy's in quite a dilemma. Should she go to the benefit show, or should she leave the office and go and hang out with Nate for his birthday? It's very important, and at this point she does have a choice. One of the central themes of The Devil Wears Prada is whether people have free will or not. And at this point, she totally could have said, I'm going to go home, it's my boyfriend's birthday. You see, as much as Andy says she wants to go to Nate's party, the way she looks at the dress, she's really excited about going to the benefit. So how much of this is a choice? Does she really want to be there? Or does she really want to be at Nate's party?
Okay, but hurry.
Oh, please believe me, I will. This is the last thing that I want to... Oh, I love that.
I think we all know the answer at this point. She really wants to be at the benefit. At the benefit, Emily, who's been quite nasty to Andy throughout the film, is actually really nice to her. She compliments her outfit and she thanks Andy for helping her out when she has a problem. This scene shows that she is actually quite a nice person. She isn't nasty. It's just that she really cares about her job and she's constantly under pressure, and she's also quite frustrated with Andy for not really caring about working there and with not taking the job seriously. But you know, she's basically okay. But the fact that Emily started to like Andy shows that Andy is really getting sucked into the world of Runway at this point. After she's done her duties at the benefit, she rushes off and she runs into Christian. Christian offers her a golden opportunity to go and meet with his editor to talk about her articles. This is a big deal. However, Andy decides that she needs to meet Nate and she rushes off. This shows that she can choose when she wants to, and she's even capable of missing out on really good things in an attempt to be supportive towards him. So it's quite difficult to know what's going on here. I think that she probably feels quite guilty for missing his birthday, and that motivates her, but she isn't completely uncaring and she is actually trying with him. Nate might not know it, but this was quite a big thing she did there. However, unfortunately it's too late. She's missed the party, and look what happens now.
Hey.
I mean, she's trying there, but understandably he feels really let down and disappointed.
I'm so sorry. I kept trying to leave, but there was a lot going on, and...
So there's that thing about her not having a choice. I think she did have a choice with this. I think she could have missed the event because Emily was supposed to go on her own, and prior engagement, I'm sorry Miranda, I've got to go. And I think at this point she could have gotten out of it. It was a pretty good event. I mean, it was proper red carpet and, you know, it would turn anyone's head. And this is one of the things about the film that, as a viewer, some of the things that Andy does look really cool and exciting. And that's partly why it's difficult to like Nate, because I know that I've thought of him as a massive killjoy, and I think of him as a massive killjoy in this scene.
Don't worry about it. And go to bed.
Can we at least talk about this?
And also, using a bit of empathy, how would you feel if your significant other missed your birthday? I don't think many of us would be that happy with it, especially when they missed your birthday to do something for a job that they apparently hate. I think a lot of us would be quite upset about that. But then if we listen to what Nate says here...
You look really pretty.
So even though he's upset, he still has it in him to say something kind to Andy, which is a nice touch because I think he is absolutely devastated. He seems more sad than angry at this point. Meanwhile, impressed by the standard of her work, Miranda asks Andy to accompany her on her trip to Paris, in place of Emily, who really wanted to go. However, Miranda stresses that this is an offer that she can't refuse. Andy then walks the streets, pondering her future, and then she goes home to look at photographs to contemplate her past.
Coming to bed anytime soon?
Yeah, 5 minutes, okay?
So in that scene, as we saw that she is neglecting Nate quite a bit at this point because naturally she has got a lot going on in her mind, but it does feel a bit unkind what she's doing there. She's not really letting him in, and he's also really trying to reach out, but you know, she just can't reach him at this stage. When she returns to work the next morning, Miranda tells Andy that it's her job to tell Emily that she's replaced her on the trip to Paris. Andy's very unhappy about having to do this. However, as luck would have it, well, luck in a way, Emily gets run over while she's trying to tell her, so she wouldn't have been able to go to Paris anyway. Off the back of this, Andy goes to the opening of Lily's show at her art gallery. Christian Thompson is there, and it turns out he's going to Paris too. He kisses her on the cheek, which horrifies Lily.
Lily.
Andy goes to confront Lily to try and talk around to explain it isn't what it looks like, even though it is totally what it looks like.
Lily, he's just a guy I know from work.
Yeah, that looked like work.
Look, you're making a big deal out of it.
This is quite an interesting scene because I've been incredibly down on Lily throughout the film, especially after the scene in the restaurant where she was teasing her and taking her phone off her and things like that. However, in this scene we can see that she really does care about Andy.
The Andy I know is madly in love with Nate. He's always 5 minutes early and thinks Club Monaco is couture.
They've been friends for a really long time, and she can see that Andy's changed, and not really for the better.
For the last 16 years, I've known everything about that Andy, but this person?
And so she's trying to talk around. I mean, there's a real complexity with this, because I've always felt when watching The Devil Wears Prada that Andy has, you know, she's growing up and she's growing on in life and she has this exciting opportunity. And in a way, I kind of resent her friends for holding her back, because she's going on this trip to Paris. She's learning all these new things. And it's like, should you stay the way you are or should you change? And this is like the main problem throughout the film. It's something that I always wrestle with every time I watch this movie.
This glamazon who skulks around in corners with some random hot fashion guy? I don't get her.
So there's harsh words, but as we know who've seen the film, that Paris isn't a good thing for Andy to do, but here we are, and as far as Andy's concerned, it's still a golden opportunity. And things get even worse when Nate shows up at the art gallery.
I didn't have a choice, okay? Miranda asked me and I couldn't say no.
I know, that's your answer for everything lately. I didn't have a choice.
That's the central message of the film. I didn't have a choice, and it's we always, whenever I watch it, I always ponder about, you know, choice, whether she did have a choice. The more I watch the film, I start to think that she always had a choice and she could have done things very differently. And at this point, she's at a real crossroads in her life, and she could change it at this point, and she really can. And Nate's there to remind her of that, but she chooses something very different.
You hate Runway and Miranda, and you think fashion is stupid. You've made that clear.
And what Nate says now is really important.
You used to say this was just a job. You used to make fun of the Runway girls. What happened? Now you've become one of them.
He's right, she has changed. And when we look at how she was at the start of the film, she was a serious journalist and she didn't care about fashion, and she was very loyal to Nate, and she has changed a lot. And was it just a cosmetic change with her changing her appearance and when she got her new clothes at the magazine, or has she actually changed as a person?
And then we can stop pretending like we have anything in common anymore.
And as sad as this is,
Maybe we should take a break.
it gets even worse. That's such a missed opportunity.
The person whose calls you always take, that's the relationship you're in.
That's a really sad scene, but luckily for Andy, things are about to change. She has the trip to Paris to look forward to. However, Paris isn't all it's cracked up to be. She learns that Christian Thompson's a complete scumbag, and that the fashion world, or at least the world of Runway, is basically a nest of vipers. She quits the job, and it's absolutely fabulous, and then she returns to New York. Upon her return to New York, Nate agrees to meet Andy for lunch.
I wanted to say that you were right about everything.
You see, that was very difficult for Andy to say. It's always hard to apologise, and it's always hard to admit that you're wrong. I know that a lot of people are quite uncomfortable with this result in the film. I mean, I've always felt quite bad whenever I've watched it, because it's like she was being a winner and she was off leading this exciting life, and then she has to come back and kind of eat humble pie. And I think a lot of people, me included over the years, feel quite a bit of resentment towards Nate at this point, but he has always been there for her. He was there for her at the start before she had this adventure, and maybe he's going to be there for her now.
I'm sorry.
And she really meant that, and it was obviously very difficult for her, but she obviously meant it. Interestingly enough, just after this scene, she goes to have a job interview at a proper newspaper for a job very different to the one at Runway, and one that she's completely suitable for. It's always been her dream to be a serious journalist, and she's about to do that.
I flew up to Boston while you were gone. You're looking at their new sous chef. I'm moving up there in a couple weeks.
Because Nate's not really been happy in his own job. There's been various hints throughout the film that he's not that happy and he thinks he could be doing better, and so it's nice to see that he's got a new job. But does this mean that they won't be able to hang out anymore? Boston's not that far away, but could this be the end of the relationship as we know it? I mean, it's going to change anyway, because Andy's grown so much during the course of the film, but are they still going to be a couple?
We might be able to figure something out.
So that's it. I don't know if they get back together, but they are still friends and they're still going to continue having some sort of relationship in the future. The question with Nate, though, is whilst he's always been there for her, is he just trying to hold her back, or is he just attracted to an image of her that no longer exists? It's a very difficult thing to think about. I mean, as the saying goes, you can never walk through the same river twice. And will any attempts for Andy and Nate to get back together just not work out? It's hard to see, but they're in a much better situation now than they've been throughout most of the film, so good luck to them. And also with Nate, I get the impression that he's not just trying to keep her with him, he's trying to keep her accountable to herself, that she has that dream to be a writer and to be a serious journalist with a social conscience. And he wants her to fulfil that, and that's why he isn't as bad as perhaps I might have seen him before. There's something really decent about him, and so I actually do defend him now ultimately. I think ultimately with Nate, he's holding Andy accountable. He doesn't want her to give up on her dreams. And for this reason, I'm Team Nate nowadays. So, like I say, I watch The Devil Wears Prada every year and I always spot something different in it. When I first watched the film, I thought, oh, poor Nate, he has a really bad time. And then over the years, whenever I've watched it, I started to think, Nate, he's a bit of a dick and he's holding Andy back and he's not supportive and she's got a really cool job. However, in my most recent viewing of it, I started to think of Nate as actually, he's not actually that bad, and he is the voice of reason in a lot of ways. As far as he sees it, Andy doesn't want to work at Runway. She's opposed to it, she complains about it, she wants to do a different job, and she's really going down a path that she doesn't want to be on, and he does his best to pull her back from that. So I think that's pretty decent. I was just looking at Reddit this morning and I could see that the debate rages on about Nate because he is such a controversial character. Even Lily and Doug, because whilst they're really annoying and really mean when they do that weird thing in the restaurant where they throw a phone around, that's a pretty nasty thing that they do. They are quite supportive, and I think that Lily gives some really good advice to Andy and she helps to hold her accountable too. So that's the case for the defence. Let me know what you think. I'm sure this debate will rumble on for years and years, but please let me know in the comments, do you like Nate? Do you feel sorry for him? Do you think he holds Andy accountable? Do you think he holds her back? I really want to know, because I'm quite convinced of this attitude at this point, but I'm sure next year when I watch the film again, my attitude will change then, so I'm really curious to find out what other people think, so let me know in the comments. If you don't know what to write, please could you just drop me your name of your favourite designer or your favourite character in The Devil Wears Prada, or even mention your favourite outfit that Andy wears, because she wears some really good clothes, and you know, that's one of the things I love about the film, just watching what Andy wears. And Miranda and Emily too, they are so stylish, so it's a real joy to watch. If you've enjoyed this video, please could you do me a massive favour and drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And please check out the videos that I've made on Mean Girls and Splash, you might enjoy those too. I normally make videos about animations, especially animations by Adult Swim, and I've done a series on a show called The Venture Brothers, so if you're into that, please check it out. And even if you're not, it is one of the best shows ever made, so give it a look and you might get into the show, because you really should, because it's really good. So that's all from me. Unless anything comes up in the meantime, I'll see you next Sunday.